Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Tian Lu with you on this Monday, May the 18th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, Chinese Foreign Ministry says China and Russia will promote ties to a deeper and higher level. The second senior officials meeting of APEC China 2026 opens in Shanghai. And Ebola outbreak spreads to DR Congo's border city of Goma, prompting Rwanda to close key crossings. In business, China further optimizes departure tax refund measures. In sports, the Cavaliers beat the Pistons in Game 7 to reach the East Finals. In culture and entertainment, the Beijing Museum season kicks off. Now checking today's top stories. China's foreign ministry said Russian President Vladimir Putin will exchange ideas with Chinese President Xi Jinping on bilateral ties, cooperation in various fields, and international and regional issues of common concern during his state visit to China on Tuesday and Wednesday. That will be Putin's 25th visit to China. Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun said bilateral relations have made remarkable progress.
In recent years, under the strategic guidance of President Xi Jinping and President Vladimir Putin, the China-Russia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership of Coordination for a New Era has maintained sound, stable, and in-depth growth. Cooperation between the two countries has expanded across a wide range of sectors, delivering concrete benefits to both peoples and contributing to a global stability and international fairness.
This year marks 30 years of the China-Russia Strategic Partnership of Coordination, 25 years since the signing of the China-Russia Treaty of Good Neighborliness and Friendly Cooperation, and the launch of the Years of Education between the two countries. China said both sides will take these as an opportunity to promote bilateral relations to a deeper and higher level to bring more stability and positive energy to the world. The China-Russia Expo in northeast China highlights the resilience, vitality, and mutual benefits of bilateral economic ties. Nearly 300 Russian companies are attending, with over 5,000 buyers expected. Since 2014, the event has attracted more than 7,200 Chinese and Russian companies and over 1 million visitors. Guo Tianqi spoke with exhibitors at the event in Harbin.
China and Russia are jointly hosting the China-Russia Expo, the largest comprehensive exhibition platform between the two countries, now in its 10th edition. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin each sent congratulatory letters to the event, encouraging all sectors from both countries to seize the opportunity, make full use of their geographical proximity and economic complementarity, and further expand all-round practical cooperation.
Leaders of the two countries have signed agreements to deepen practical cooperation, which we fully support. Russia and China stand side by side for common development, benefiting young people and all people. Such cooperation is timely and far-reaching. We are here in Harbin for the China-Russia Expo, coming from Russia's Sakha Republic. Our region is dominated by agriculture. We are seeking advanced farming technologies, including irrigation equipment and harvesters. We hope to reach deals in the coming days to boost local development.
This year's expo features 8 major exhibition zones, attracting more than 1,500 domestic and international enterprises from 46 countries and regions. Beyond the exhibition halls, Russian delegations have also conducted field visits to Chinese companies. A delegation from the Republic of Buryatia visited one of the Northeast China's largest building materials distribution centers to explore potential areas of cooperation.
Regular China-Russia economic and trade events continuously bring fresh cooperation opportunities for both sides. This field trip to Zhilong Building Materials Market has helped us explore more practical directions and modes for bilateral cooperation.
Relying on Buryatia abundant mineral resources and sound logistics conditions, We plan to build industrial parks focusing on home building materials, mineral resources and energy sectors in Russia. We will introduce advanced Chinese technologies and management models to drive coordinated industrial upgrading between the two countries.
From everyday consumer goods to advanced helicopters, and from mineral resources to intelligent robotics, China-Russia cooperation now spans a wide range of sectors. Economic ties and people-to-people exchanges between the two countries continue to advance toward higher quality development and broader future prospects.
That was Guo Tianqi reporting. Trade ties between China and Russia have remained resilient in recent years. China's Ministry of Commerce says total trade reached nearly $228 billion last year, marking the third straight year it has surpassed $200 billion. China has remained Russia's largest trading partner for 16 consecutive years. Higher value segments, including mechanical and electrical goods and high-tech products, are steadily increasing their shares. Traditional sectors like energy and agriculture continue to underpin stable trade development. For some discussions, Li Qiuyuan spoke with Kirill Babayev, director of the Institute of China and Modern Asia at the Russian Academy of Sciences.
As the global geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, China and Russia have continued to deepen cooperation across science, technology, education, and many other areas. From your perspective, what is driving the momentum in China-Russia relations today?
Well, I think the most important factor is actually the common vision that our nations and our leaders have for the future of the humanity. Our leaders, President Putin and President Xi Jinping, several times expressed that their plans and their intentions for the common future of the humanity coincide, and also coincide the principles upon which the new system of global governance should be built according to Russia and China. I think very similar position in the world economy, in the world geopolitics, and in many other factors which define the landscape of the present world. So this is why we call each other not only strategic partners, but also even more than friends. And this more than friendship is actually spreading to all the spheres of cooperation between the two countries, starting from political coordination in terms of global and regional problems, and economic cooperation, which is developing very fast between our countries.
China and Russia have also designated 2026 and 2027 as the years of education. What practical steps could help deepen mutual understanding between the two countries through education?
And we have already a very strong foundation of common projects in education. We know that, for example, the joint Russian-Chinese university is working quite successfully in Shenzhen. We know that there are quite a lot of programs, joint programs between Russian universities and Chinese universities all over the two countries. But we definitely need more. And I think we need more not only to study the high-tech or physics or humanitarian science in general, but also to know each other much better. Russians do need to know China more. They need to establish more programs on studying Chinese, the Chinese culture, the language, the economy, and the business. And the Chinese people are very much interested, even the young people, students, in studying contemporary Russian in terms of culture and economy and the various technological things and culture and so on. So I think that this kind of exchange will create an even more solid foundation for the future development of strategic partnership between our countries, because the young people who are now studying each other, Russia and China, will be the future of our relations, and it's for them to build our friendship the years to come.
That was Kirill Babayev with his perspectives on the future of China-Russia ties. As China and Russia continue to expand educational and people-to-people exchanges, more young professionals are helping bring the two cultures closer together. Among them is Stepaniak Maria, a Russian teacher at Southern Medical University who has spent years living and working in Guangzhou. Through education and cultural exchange, she says she has found not only a career but also a second home. Wang Zihang has more.
For Stepaniak Maria, moving from Russia to China was driven by curiosity and a desire to experience a different culture. Years later, Guangzhou has become a place she now proudly calls home.
when I moved to China, of course, it was a big change for me. But over time, of course, it became just like a second home for me. And Guangzhou especially is such a vibrant and international city. I really love my life here in Guangzhou.
Maria says living in China has helped her grow both personally and professionally. As a teacher, she has witnessed growing interest among young Chinese and Russians in learning more about each other's cultures. She says today's exchanges go far beyond official cooperation and are increasingly built on genuine friendships.
I think the atmosphere today is very, very positive and open. More young people are interested in learning each other's languages, music, traditions, and of course, ways of thinking. There are a lot of educational programs, cultural festivals, concerts, maybe something like online platforms that help people to connect. So I feel that cultural exchange today is becoming more personal.
This year marks the China-Russia Year of Educational Exchange. Maria believes education remains one of the strongest bridges connecting the two countries.
Education is for sure one of the strongest bridges between countries because it allows people to communicate directly and understand each other beyond stereotypes, So I believe educational exchange creates long-term friendships and helps future generations cooperate more openly and peacefully.
Maria also hopes future exchanges will become more accessible, with more opportunities for students to study abroad, improve language skills, and take part in joint projects and research. She believes Chinese and Russian people already share many common values, including respect for families, tradition, and deep personal relationships.
I also hope people continue to stay curious about each other's cultures and maintain open-minded communication. Strong people-to-people relationships for sure create stronger understanding between our countries.
For Maria, every classroom discussion and cultural interaction is another step toward deeper understanding between China and Russia. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Wang Zihang.
Coming up, the second senior officials meeting of APEC China 2026 opens in Shanghai.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
Now it's 13 minutes past the hour. The second senior officials meeting of APEC China 2026 is underway in Shanghai. The meeting on Monday and Tuesday will see participants review the APEC cooperation in the first half of the year, gather early harvests, and prepare for the outcomes of the leaders' meeting and other events throughout the rest of the year. The second meeting came 3 months after the first one in Guangzhou. This year's APEC Economics Leaders Meeting will be in Shenzhen in November. It marks the third time that China plays host to APEC. 2026 marks the 75th anniversary of Xizang's peaceful liberation. A treasure trove of ancient wisdom lies behind the crimson and white walls of the Potala Palace in Lhasa. The palm leaf manuscripts are some of the world's oldest Buddhist texts. A team of dedicated researchers is racing to preserve them for future generations. Chen Ziyuan has more.
Etched onto the leaves of the ferocious flavor tree, these manuscripts traveled centuries ago from India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka to Xizang. Over 29,000 leaves are stored inside the Potala Palace alone, making it the most concentrated collection of its kind in China. But time has taken its toll on these manuscripts.
The greatest challenge lies in the damage already present on the palm leaf manuscripts, from lifted copper thread bindings and deterioration to traces of improper past repairs. Our greater concern is that these conditions may get worse.
Palm leaf manuscripts were once beyond repair until the formation of this team in 2022. They came in with the help of intangible cultural heritage inheritors.
The problems are varied and complex. Some types of damage are easier to address, while others are harder to understand and treat. Over time, the palm leaf manuscripts have been made from different kinds of leaves, depending on when they were created. Some of these specific leaves are now in short supply, and the types we need have already gone extinct.
The team is experimenting with a mix of natural ingredients to recreate safe, flexible adhesives.
The manuscripts come from different periods. The scripts vary. Some characters we can recognize easily, others only partially, and some we don't recognize at all. When parts are missing, we try to fill them in, but there are areas we don't fully understand.
The team has successfully restored 3 leaves of the damaged manuscripts, but they're awaiting more advanced innovations to tackle the more severely damaged ones. That's why digital preservation is also underway.
On one hand, we carry out high-resolution scanning to document all the inscriptions and texts found on the palm leaf manuscripts. On the other, we use OCR technology to recognize the characters, followed by meticulous manual proofreading.
The team completed cataloging and condition surveys for 465 volumes, a total of 29,400 leaves of palm leaf manuscript relics. They also organize and typeset illustrations from 37 volumes and carry out digital scanning of 244 volumes. Alongside the conservation work, local talents is being trained to do the same.
Through the implementation of our project, we hope to enhance the Potala Palace's capacity for ancient cultural relic preservation, from restoration techniques to digital and preventive conservation, as well as the interpretation and research of their historical value.
Preserving the palm leaf manuscripts is about more than saving texts. It's about honoring 1,000 years of cultural dialogue and spiritual devotion. And thanks to these silent guardians of the leaf, the legacy is alive and turning a new page.
That was Chen Ziyuan on efforts to preserve ancient text in Xizang. Monday marks 8 years since Chinese President Xi Jinping proposed a set of principles for building an ecological civilization in the new era. In May 2018, Xi Jinping thought an ecological civilization was formally established at the National Conference on Ecological and Environmental Protection. The framework has since guided efforts to advance the Beautiful China initiative and promote the harmonious coexistence between humanity and nature. One of its key principles emphasizes harmony between people and nature, calling for environmental protection and conservation to be prioritized throughout the country's development process. Another principle stresses that natural resources and the environment are valuable assets and that resource conservation and environmental protection should be integrated into all economic and social activities. The principles also state that a healthy ecological environment is essential to public well-being and that mountains, rivers, forests, farmland, lakes, and grasslands together form a shared community of life. In addition, the framework calls for the strictest legal protections for the environment and encourages international cooperation in building a global ecological civilization. Baiyangdian wetland in North China has become a key focus of ecological restoration efforts in Xiong'an, a state-level new area south of Beijing. The once polluted wetland is witnessing significant improvements in water quality and the gradual return of wildlife thanks to stronger environmental protection. Sun Tianyuan has more.
Located in Xiong'an, China's city of the future, Baiyangdian is the largest freshwater wetland system on the North China Plain.
Decades ago, these reed marshes sheltered guerrilla fighters during China's war of resistance against Japanese aggression. And today, the ancient wetland is protected by a new generation of guardians.
Technology is transforming the way the wetland is protected.
We now use satellite remote sensing and drones equipped with hyperspectral sensors to quickly identify possible pollution areas. We also have automated AI water testing systems and smart environmental management platforms that help keep Bayangdian's water quality stable and support the wetland's long-term ecological health.
Bayangdian's water quality has remained healthy and stable for 5 straight years, but things here once looked very different. During an inspection tour of Xiong'an in 2017, Chinese President Xi Jinping stressed that Bayangdian must be well restored and protected. Since then, large-scale cleanup, ecological replenishment, and conservation efforts across the wetland have been significantly strengthened.
在习近平生态文明思想的指引下
Guided by the Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization, Bayangdian has adopted an approach that combines restoration and protection efforts, tackles both root causes and environmental symptoms, and promotes systematic and coordinated management across the entire watershed.
After years of environmental protection and ecological restoration, wildlife is returning steadily to these marshlands. Even the endangered bear's pochard, often called the giant panda of birds, is making regular appearances once again.
Local reed artist Liu Yongle has witnessed Bayangdian's transformation firsthand. The wetland he remembers from childhood, filled with lotus ponds, reed marshes, and bird life, has now returned.
As a local resident, I feel very proud to see the environmental changes in my hometown and the return of so many birds that naturally inspires me to create and to share my appreciation for these beautiful things through reed art with more people.
Bayangdian's recovery is more than just a local success story. It reflects China's experience in balancing modernization with environmental protection, while also offering valuable lessons for global ecological governance.
That was Sun Tianyuan reporting. Coming up, Ebola outbreak spreads to DR Congo's border city of Goma, prompting Rwanda to close key crossings.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
Now it's 23 minutes past the hour. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is warning the continent and the global community over the growing risk of regional spread of Ebola. At least 87 people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo have died from the disease. The outbreak has reached the rebel-held city Goma on the Rwandan border. Rwanda has closed the key crossings. The World Health Organization declared the outbreak in the DRC and Uganda a public health emergency of international concern. Chris Okamaringa reports from Kinshasa.
Racing against time to stop the spread of the Ebola virus. UN agencies are scaling up the delivery of medical supplies to Ituri province following the confirmation of the infectious disease on Friday. More than 240 suspected cases and 87 deaths have been reported in 2 mining towns so far. The WHO has prompted global partners to aid the DRC government.
This is a local challenge needing leadership on the front lines, and we're going to have it and we're going to support it. But this local challenge can go global in an instant. And those are the stakes that we're all aware of, pushing a pandemic to where it belongs and ending it.
The outbreak caused by the Bundibujo strain has been reported in Uganda. Authorities have also confirmed a case in the Congolese capital, Kinshasa. In both cases, patients are believed to have traveled from Ituri.
International health organizations have mobilized more than 600 kilograms of medical supplies to support the DRC government to treat Ebola patients and stop the spread of the contagious disease that has occurred in a region affected by conflict.
Officials fear that displacement of populations and cross-border trade may hinder response efforts.
I think that the main challenge we are going to face in Ituri is the population, because the population there is very, very important, and they're going they go everywhere. So you know that there are many traders there, so the people are going everywhere. This is the big issue we challenge there.
Countries bordering the DRC are considered high risk. The WHO has urged them to enhance surveillance and report cases. Rwanda has closed its border with the DRC in the western province of Rubavu following the announcement. Scientists say the disease spreads through contact with the bodily fluids of infected people.
That was Chris Okamringa on the DRC's response to another Ebola outbreak. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has suffered repeated Ebola outbreaks over the past 50 years. Wilkester Nyabwa spoke with WHO Africa virologist Nixie Gumidi-Mioletsi about this regional cycle.
The latest Ebola outbreak is the 17th in the DRC since 1976, when it was first identified. Between 2018 and 2020, the WHO reported over 2,200 deaths in the most lethal Ebola outbreak in the DRC to date. Questions abound as to why the country continues to experience repeated cycles of the viral disease.
It's also related to the weak healthcare systems. For instance, in case of the DRC, we know that there's quite a limited infrastructure, and then as well as the underfunded facilities that delay the detection as well the isolation of the cases. All in all, this actually allows the outbreaks to expand rapidly.
Africa's second largest country has long been affected by armed violence, political instability, and population displacement. These factors, healthcare analysts say, make the delivery of medical resources and quick management of a medical emergency difficult.
We know that where the outbreak is taking place at this point in time is in the eastern part of DRC. We know that's the area that is very, very, very prone to the violence, limiting the access to the affected population, as well as hindering the outbreak containment efforts.
The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has warned of a risk of further spread due to intense population movement. The WHO warns that there are currently no approved vaccines for the Bundibugyo strain of the Ebola virus, and that the true scale of the number of cases is not yet clear. This is only the third time the Bundibugyo virus has been detected.
That was Wilkester Nyabwa reporting. Iran has warned the United States that any new military aggression against the country will provoke a more forceful and severe response. It follows a phone call between US and Israeli leaders who discussed the possibility of renewing attacks against Iran. The ceasefire remains fragile as Washington and Tehran are divided over conditions to end the war. The US has reportedly outlined 5 conditions in response to Iran's peace proposal. They include the US not paying any war reparations and Iran handing over 400 kilograms of enriched uranium to the United States. Tehran calls the conditions maximalist, saying the US has refused to offer any tangible concessions. Now it's 29 minutes past the hour, checking the forecast before the break. Beijing will be overcast through tomorrow. The low is 17 and it's up to 25 on Tuesday. Shanghai will be cloudy with a low of 21 tonight, tomorrow moderate rain with a high of 28. Chongqing will see moderate rain with a low of 21 tonight, tomorrow cloudy with a high of 28. Nanchang will be overcast with a low of 25 tonight, tomorrow moderate rain with a high of 29. Lhasa will be cloudy tonight and tomorrow with a low of 6 and a high of 21. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad is down to 26 this evening. Tuesday will be sunny and 41 degrees Celsius. Now it's time for a short break. So far this hour, Chinese Foreign Ministry says China and Russia will promote ties to a deeper and higher level. The second senior officials meeting of APEC China 2026 opens in Shanghai, and Ebola outbreak spreads to DR Congo's border city of Goma, prompting Rwanda to close key crossings. Tian Lu with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
From the refreshing cup of tea that starts your morning to the paper that you write on, the roots of many familiar parts of modern life can be traced back to ancient ideas. Join us on Made in Ancient China and discover how ideas born millennia ago became some of the world's greatest treasures. Made in Ancient China brings you stories of human ambition, inspiration, and connection. Now available on all major podcast platforms.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. Right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Tian Lu with you on this Monday. Still to come. In business, China further optimizes departure tax refund measures. In sports, the Cavaliers beat the Pistons in Game 7 to reach the East Finals. In culture and entertainment, the Beijing Museum season kicks off. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @cgtn radio. But first, checking today's headline news, here's Tian Yu.
Thank you, Tian Lu. Beijing has honored 8 foreign diplomats with the first-ever awards for outstanding contributions to deepening friendship and cooperation between their nations and China. The recipients include former Russian ambassador to China Andrei Denisov, the envoys of Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, and Colombia, and former ambassadors from Colombia, Chad, and Uruguay. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has warned of a growing risk of regional spread from the latest Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. Figures from the Africa CDC show the death toll has risen to 87 in the DRC, where the outbreak originated in Ituri province. Director General John Kaseya of the agency says the Bandibujo strain is driving the outbreak.
Ebola has so many strengths. What is known mostly is what we call the Zaire strain, that is killing so many people. And the case fatality rate is more than 70-80% if there is no support. Fortunately, we have medicines and vaccines for the Zaire strain. But the second one, the Sudan strain and the Budibug we are talking about, we don't have vaccine, we don't have medicine.
Residents in Goma have expressed fears and concerns after the rebel government of the eastern Congolese city announced the first confirmed case in the city. Benjamin Bonimpa with rebel authorities urges locals not to panic.
We
will first protect the populations under the space we manage, and we ask the populations carry on their daily business. We have the mission to manage communication well and inform our population, raise their awareness, give them preventive measures and barrier measures, the practices that must be observed, and then we will take care of all suspected cases and cases already confirmed.
The Africa CDC is leading regional response efforts and supporting South Sudan with preparedness measures. Uganda has already reported an imported case from the DRC. Officials say the index case remains unknown, making the outbreak's magnitude unclear. Canadian public health authorities have confirmed the country's first hantavirus case in a cruise ship passenger isolating in British Columbia. The Public Health Agency of Canada said a traveling partner of the patient was confirmed negative. The outbreak occurred aboard a polar expedition cruise ship last month. It has resulted in 3 deaths. The incubation period for hantavirus generally ranges from 1 to 8 weeks. U.S. police in Austin, Texas are searching for 2 suspects linked to at least 10 random shootings over the weekend that left 4 people injured, including 2 at fire stations. Mayor Kirk Watson urged residents to remain vigilant as the suspects may be changing vehicles.
This is an active, ongoing investigation. So what we're asking
is that all of our people, all of our residents, please remain vigilant. In fact, it appears that as part of this, people are changing vehicles. So again, it's very important for people to remain vigilant.
The police chief said the suspects used at least 4 vehicles. The suspects are described as Hispanic men in their late teens. Authorities ordered residents in a large part of South Austin to shelter in place while the search continues. Officials say no specific motive has been identified and the shootings appear random. Recent opinion polls in Japan show most people oppose the government's decision to lift restrictions on lethal weapons exports. A Kyoto news poll released Sunday found over 57% of respondents reject allowing such exports. An NHK poll from May the 8th to 10th showed 52% opposed the government's move to open the door to lethal arms exports, with 35% in favor. On April the 21st, the Japanese government officially revised its 3 principles on defense equipment transfers, removing restrictions that had previously limited exports to 5 non-combat categories. The revision in principle allows overseas sales of weapons, including those with lethal capabilities. The decision has drawn strong concern and protest within Japan.
Thank you very much. And that was Tianyu with headlines. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, China further optimizes departure tax refund measures.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
Now 36 minutes past the hour, turning to business. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed lower on Monday. The Shanghai Composite was down slightly. The Shenzhen component lost almost 0.2%. Components and telecommunications equipment shares were among the top gainers. Timothy Pope has more.
The Shanghai Composite Index was flat at the close. The Shenzhen component was down 0.2%. Investors were looking at more tensions in the Middle East as evidence that an end to that current conflict remains elusive. And they were also focused on the latest economic data for April in China. On the flip side, exports were better than expected, and there was some clear evidence that the government's fuel price controls have muted the impact of the Middle East conflict for Chinese households so far. We saw some falls for industrial, real estate and consumer stocks off the back of all that. Chinese agricultural stocks were also trading lower after the White House said that China had pledged to buy at least $17 billion worth of US agricultural goods per year from 2026 this year through to 2028. A sub-index that was tracking those stocks fell 2.5%. Although this does seem to be investors treating agriculture a bit like a zero-sum game, there is a little bit of potential for this to see a dip in prices for Chinese farmers, what they can charge. In the same vein, though, Chinese chip stocks also rose after there was no substantive change to chip export restrictions set by the US.
That was Timothy Pope. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index declined over 1.1%. Japan's Nikkei decreased nearly 1%. China is further optimizing departure tax refund measures for better convenience and to expand inbound consumption. Multiple departments, including the Commerce Ministry and the State Taxation Administration, rolled out the latest measures. They include more tax refund stalls in major commercial areas, scenic spots and ports. A random inspection system will apply to small value tax refund applications from July the 1st. The instant refund upon purchase service will be mutually recognized across different ports, with the refund deadline extended to 28 days. Paperless processing will also be fully implemented. For more on the latest measures, Lincoln Humphreys spoke with Wang Yaojing, Associate Professor of Economics at Peking University.
So China is expanding this departure tax refund to boost inbound consumption. How significant is this?
So China's inbound consumption has increased 40% year on year for the last year, but this is significant growth, but really compared to the domestic base, it's around 1 or 2%. But what I mean is that the more important channel is not the direct arithmetic, but the spillover effect. So say tourism liberalization improves the visibility and perception of China's consumption environment. And also this strong inbound flow can act as a confidence signal that reinforces perception of openness and stability, which can help anchor broader consumption and also foreign investment sentiment in the international community.
With the measures like instant tax refunds upon purchase and wider store coverage now, how do China's policies compare with other established tax-free shopping hubs around the world?
Well, China is now much closer to established hubs like Japan, and the key improvement is that tourists no longer have to wait until departure at the airport to receive refunds, which is even more convenient than Europe. However, the gap is not policy mechanism, but more ecosystem depth. China is still catching up phase, but it is also has a structural advantage such as scale and world-leading digital infrastructure. And China is also actively repositioning itself in global supply chains of premium goods. So if successful, this can evolve into a distinct and scalable tourism consumption ecosystem.
That was Associate Professor Wang Yaojing offering her insights on China's latest departure tax refund measures. Officials say China's high-quality development progressed toward new and improved directions during the first 4 months of this year, with new growth drivers matured and strengthened. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the country implemented more proactive and impactful macroeconomic policies, focusing on stabilizing employment, enterprises, and the market. The Bureau says during the 4 months, production and supply grew steadily, market sales continued to expand, and the resilience of foreign trade remained evident. Zhou Yixin has more details.
Officials say China's economy has shown steady growth in the first 4 months of this year. They especially highlighted great momentum in advanced manufacturing, high-tech, and foreign trade. And here are some of the key highlights. In the first 4 months of this year, China's industrial output grew by 5.6% year-on-year, and manufacturing remained a key driver, especially equipment manufacturing and high-tech industries. Also, emerging industries have also saw a strong growth. Output of products like 3D printing machines and industrial robots and also lithium batteries have all increased rapidly. While second, the service sector continued to expand, especially information technology and also information services, business services, and also finance. While third, consumer spending kept recovering. Service consumption grew faster than goods consumption, especially in areas like transportation, tourism, and other entertainment-related areas. While also fourth, China's foreign trade remained resilient despite external uncertainties. In the first 4 months of this year, total imports and exports rose nearly 15%, and while trade with Belt and Road partner countries have also seen steady growth. Well, lastly, although fixed asset investment have declined, but investment in high-tech and advanced manufacturing have grown very fast. And officials say that reflects China's continued push toward high-quality development. And overall, they say China's economy maintained stable growth, while challenges including uncertainties of external environment and also a not too strong domestic demand still remain.
That was Zhou Yixin reporting. China has launched the 9th batch of communication satellites for the Space Sail constellation, marking the project's 3rd satellite launch this year. The 18 satellites were sent into orbit from Wenchang Space Launch Site on Sunday, bringing the total number of satellites in the network to more than 160. The constellation is designed to provide high-speed, secure, and reliable broadband internet services to users worldwide. China plans to expand the network to more than 10,000 satellites operating in low Earth orbit by the end of 2030. Industry data shows China's satellite navigation industry continued to expand in 2025. The output value of the sector reached nearly 630 billion yuan last year, or about 93 billion US dollars. That's an increase of over 9.2%. According to the Global Navigation Satellite System and Location-Based Services Association of China, nearly 1.4 billion smartphones in the country were equipped with beidou positioning capabilities by the end of last year. They accounted for about 98% of all mobile phones across China. Over 100 million passenger cars had onboard devices using beidou services for navigation and positioning. The association says Beidou services and related products have been exported to more than 140 countries and regions worldwide. Traditional dragon boats are driving the economic growth of a town in Foshan, southern China. Known as the town of dragon boats, Zhoujiang Town is attracting a growing number of clients and tourists with its exquisite craftsmanship of boat making and thrilling racing events. Workers are racing against time to keep up with the rising orders from home and abroad ahead of the Dragon Boat Festival, which falls on June the 19th this year. Wu Pengjian is the manager of a local sports equipment company.
Right now, we are working overtime every day to make the boats. We have orders not only from neighboring cities, but also from Southeast Asia and Europe. At the same time, we have another 500 or 600 carbon fiber paddles to deliver simultaneously. Meanwhile, our races and training services have been scheduled into July.
The boats manufactured in Wu's company are specifically designed for professional races, measuring over 18 meters long and weighing 280 kilograms. Meanwhile, the dragon boat events, arranged throughout the year, have also boosted local culture tourism industry. Many clients have already reached out to local homestays in advance to book rooms for the Dragon Boat Festival and the summer vacation. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports. The Cavaliers beat the Pistons in Game 7 to reach the East Finals.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
Now it's 47 minutes past the hour. Turning to sports, here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Tianlu. In the NBA, Donovan Mitchell scored 26 points, and the Cleveland Cavaliers defeated the Detroit Pistons 125-94 to win Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Bench player Sam Merrill was the surprise performer, shooting 7 for 10 to finish with 23 points for Cleveland. Detroit's Cade Cunningham only recorded 13 points as the top-seeded Pistons got eliminated from the playoffs.
Being back home, definitely wanted to get this win in front of the fans. Reminded me of last year, losing on the home court. It's not a great feeling. So I hadn't been thinking about the off season. So, my mind's been racing now, trying to figure out, what I got to do, what it's going to look like.
The Cavs now face the New York Knicks in the East Finals. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder has won the NBA's Most Valuable Player for the second consecutive year. He became the 14th player to win MVP awards in back-to-back fashion. The win for Gilgeous-Alexander, who is Canadian, marks the 8th consecutive time that the NBA's MVP was born outside the US. Gilgeous-Alexander got 83 of a possible 100 first-place votes. Nikola Jokic was second in this year's vote, and Victor Wembanyama placed third. In European football, Rafinha scored twice as Spanish champions Barcelona became the first team to win all 19 of their home matches in the 38-game La Liga season. Fans gave departing star striker Robert Lewandowski a warm reception when he was substituted in the closing stages. The 37-year-old is leaving the club this summer at the end of his contract. Head coach Hansi Flick called the win a perfect goodbye for the Polish striker.
They gave us very fantastic, unforgettable moments here. A lot of goals, a lot of titles. At the end of the season, some players are leaving, new players are coming. It's normal. But of course, the club will miss him, everyone will miss him because he is not only a world-class player, he's also a good person.
Elsewhere, Real Madrid managed a 1-0 win at Sevilla thanks to Vinicius Jr.'s first-half goal. Elversberg becomes the smallest town to have a team in the German top flight. They earned promotion for the Bundesliga for the first time ever after a 3-0 home win over Preußen Münster. The win secured second place in the standings ahead of Paderborn on goal difference, with the fans streaming onto the pitch to celebrate. Spießen-Elversberg has a population of around 13,000. Elversberg has achieved 3 promotions in the last 5 seasons in a remarkable rise from the lower leagues. Paderborn will now face Wolfsburg in the 2-legged relegation promotion playoff. In tennis, Jannik Sinner became the first Italian man to win the Italian Open since Adriano Panatta achieved the feat 50 years ago. Sinner's 6-4, 6-4 victory over Casper Ruud in the final also made him only the second man after Novak Djokovic to win all 9 Masters 1000 events, the biggest tournaments outside Grand Slams.
Yeah, there's no better place to complete this set, It has been a very, very interesting tournament already back in the years, and 2019 making my debut here on this court, and I always felt a lot of, like, in a different way, in a very positive but different way here, a lot of attention, a lot of emotions going through, So for an Italian, it's one of the most special places we play tennis in.
Sinner has extended his winning streak to 29 matches. He hasn't lost since the defeat to Jakob Manzik at the Qatar Open in February. French rider Valentin Debisi of Chinese motorcycle manufacturer ZX Moto completed double victory at the Czech Republic round of the Superbike World Championship. It was his 5th win of the season in the World SSP class. Unlike Saturday's comfortable win for Debisi, Sunday's race 2 developed into a tense battle with Turkish Yamaha rider Ken Onku. The pair exchanged the lead repeatedly before Debisi launched a decisive move in the final lap to cross the line first. Debisi has moved up to second in the rider standings on 147 points. And finally, MotoGP riders Alex Marquez and Ruan Zarco were taken to hospital after they crashed in separate incidents at the Catalonia Grand Prix on Sunday. Marquez flipped over several times after he was thrown to the ground following a collision with then-race leader Pedro Acosta. His bike quickly fell apart in the horrific crash, and the debris struck other riders. Marquez needed a surgery to stabilize his right collarbone. He also sustained a fractured vertebra. In another accident, Zarco was trapped as his bike flipped over several times. The race was later restarted, and the Ducati rider Di Gian Antonio won the race for his second MotoGP victory.
Thank you very much. And that was Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, the Beijing Museum season kicks off.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
Now it's 52 minutes past the hour, turning to culture and entertainment. May the 18th marks International Museum Day. In celebration of the occasion, the Beijing Museum season has officially kicked off, bringing together museums and districts across the city featuring various themes in the following month. As the opening highlight, the Capital Museum presents Maize, Gold, Jaguar, Ancient Maya and Andean civilizations, showcasing over 800 treasures from over 20 cultural institutions in Mexico and Peru. The exhibition sets new records for the Capital Museum in both the number of exhibits and international partners. The Maya World section brings together a new selection of Mexican artifacts not seen in previous traveling exhibitions. 90% of these objects are being exhibited in Beijing for the first time. Chinese artists are demonstrating how age-old craft techniques have a place in modern society. They're taking part in this year's London Craft Week. The festival attracts 250,000 visitors and shows how the old and the new can inspire each other. Michael Voss reports.
Anton Lai is a Hong Kong-based goldsmith demonstrating the art of gilding during London Craft Week.
And we got to push the gold into the tiny detail.
Gold leaf has long been used in China in temples and on Buddha statues. Now, working in collaboration with a leading gilder, he's using the gold as a decorative art form for the 3D printed flowers he designed.
I think it's a really transformative journey for me because I learned and I know about the history and the culture of the gilding in Hong Kong. So we collaborate and we did it together.
London Craft Week is an annual citywide festival celebrating exceptional craftsmanship across a wide range of disciplines from around the world. China is a regular contributor, and this year's theme, curated by Hong Kong-based charity Crafts on Peel, is about reimagining ancestral Chinese crafts. They did so by providing scholarships to up-and-coming designers to collaborate with some of China's most skilled conventional craftsmen.
We believe it is so important in the modern days to keep this traditional artistry alive. So by simply preserving it, it may not work this way. So we believe by reinterpreting and also perpetuating through exchange of techniques, that would be one of the best way to keep it alive.
Here, the work of a master embroiderer has been integrated into this large-scale woven installation, giving depth and texture.
It's so important and crucial to keep traditional work alive, because most of the time in Chinese culture, a lot of the traditional work has been seen as a souvenirs trade.
Galvanized steel was best known in Hong Kong for making everyday objects like buckets. Here it's being used to create art forms like this sailboat in the sea. So what do visitors make of these cross-cultural works?
In a world where we're ever increasingly digital, this is an interesting blend between the digital arts, because precision is required in order to be able to get to a finished shape, and taking the traditional skill sets, which are sort of disappearing really in this age of sort of mass automation.
The idea of taking traditional craft and mixing modern materials or maybe even techniques with it, I like that idea. I think that's great. So very original.
The organisers hope that such collaborations will help keep these heritage crafts alive for generations to come.
That was Michael Voss in London. Now it's 57 minutes past the hour, checking the forecast for the day. Beijing will be overcast through tomorrow. The low is 17 and it's up to 25 on Tuesday. Shanghai will be cloudy with a low of 21 tonight. Tomorrow, moderate rain with a high of 28. Chongqing will see moderate rain with a low of 21 tonight. Tomorrow, cloudy and 28. Nanchang will be overcast with a low of 25 tonight. Tomorrow, moderate rain with a high of 29. Lhasa will be cloudy tonight and tomorrow with a low of 6 and a high of 21. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad is down to 26 this evening. Tuesday will be sunny and 41. Vientiane will see light rain becoming moderate tomorrow with a low of 24 and a high of 32. Phnom Penh will see light rain tonight and tomorrow with a low of 26 and a high of 35. In Africa, Nairobi will see light rain with a high of 23 on Tuesday. That's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour, making news today. Chinese Foreign Ministry says China and Russia will promote ties to a deeper and higher level. The second senior officials meeting of APEC China 2026 opens in Shanghai. On behalf of the staff, this is Tianlu in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in the time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, Available only on CGTN Radio.